Welcome to the final deal. A simple missing person case quickly turns into a dangerous chase across New York City. Private investigator Nat Marley uncovers secrets of high finance, hidden poker games, and a deadly cover-up. As the truth comes closer, every move becomes a risk, and one wrong step could cost a life. Follow the twists and turns of the final deal. A gripping story of lies, betrayal, and the fight for justice. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss more thrilling stories like this one. Chapter 1, A Disappearance in New York. Monday, October the 4th. It was a cool, clear morning with the promise of a fine day. Fall is always my favorite season here in New York. The short pause between the heat of summer and the freezing days of winter. The leaves in the city parks had just begun to turn red and gold. My name is Nat Marley, licensed private investigator. Before this, I was a police officer with the NYPD. These days, I work for myself. What picture do you get when you hear private investigator? Maybe a cool, handsome man with a dangerous life? Forget it. Most of the time, I search for missing people, or I watch a husband to see if he is cheating. When I look in the mirror, I only see an ordinary man in his 40s, losing his hair, as usual. I took the number 7 subway from my home in Flushing, Queens, to Midtown Manhattan. The train runs above the streets through Queens. You can see neighborhoods below. Flushing with its Chinese and Korean communities. Corona Heights with Central and South Americans. At Grand Central Station, I bought 2 coffees, then walked to my office at 220 East 43rd Street. My assistant, Stella Delgado, was already at her desk. She is a smart Puerto Rican woman who knows everything about computers. She grew up in Spanish Harlem, where people mostly speak Spanish. She left school early, but later studied at night classes. Now she has a good job, a nice home, and a loving family. "How are you, Stella?" I asked. "Here's your coffee." "Thanks, I'm fine," she said. Then came a knock on the door. 2 women entered, one in her mid-50s wearing a dark green suit, looking worried, and the other a young woman in her 20s. They were clearly mother and daughter. "Is this the Marley Detective Agency?" the older woman asked. "That's right," I said. "I'm Nat Marley. Please sit down. What can I do for you?" "I'm Joyce O'Neill, and this is my daughter Julia. It's about my husband Patrick. He has disappeared, and I must find him. Money is not important." I saw the sadness in her eyes as she explained. "I haven't seen him since Saturday night. When I woke on Sunday morning, he was gone. He left this note." She read from a postcard. "My dear Joyce, don't worry. I am safe. But I can't come home. I know something that puts us in danger. Don't call me, my office, or the police. If anyone asks, say I am out of town. Stay with Julia until I call. Love, Patrick." Julia said her apartment was in Hamilton Heights, near Columbia University, and her mother had been staying there since Sunday. "Patrick has never done anything like this before," Joyce added, close to tears. I knew disappearances could mean real danger, but I tried to calm her. "There may be many reasons for this. Did he call you?" She nodded. "He said he had to hide, but wouldn't explain more. He told me the less I knew, the safer I'd be. Patrick O'Neill, I learned, was an accountant at a Wall Street firm called Ocean Star Finance. He had worked there more than 10 years. He lived in Brooklyn Heights with his wife. His photo showed a tall man with gray hair and glasses, an ordinary family man. What about his boss?" I asked. "The department head is Ronald Steinman," Joyce replied. "Patrick is second in the department. They were not close friends." I asked about strange behavior, other women, or signs he had planned to leave. Joyce was firm. "He never looked at another woman, but the car is gone, and he took a bag with clothes and books." "Thank you," I said. "You've helped a lot. I'll do everything I can to find him. I'll need to check his home and his computer later. Can we meet there at 3? After they left, I looked out at the gray buildings of East 43rd Street. So, a quiet, hard-working man had suddenly disappeared. He might be in serious trouble. I thought this would be another ordinary day. I was wrong. Chapter 2. Questions on Wall Street. I told Stella everything I had learned about Patrick O'Neill. While I spoke, her hands were moving quickly on the keyboard. "Look at this, Nat," she said. "It's the latest news from Ocean Star Finance." Ocean Star was an investment company on Wall Street, America's financial center. They took clients' money and used it in international markets to make profits. The richer their clients were, the richer they became. Year after year, the firm gave excellent returns. It was like a machine that made money. The head of Ocean Star was Lorraine Houston. She was famous from television shows and magazine articles about her luxury homes and designer clothes. She had grown up poor in New Jersey, but became president of one of Wall Street's most admired firms. I decided to call O'Neill's office. Pretending to be a client with money to invest, I asked his personal assistant if I could meet O'Neill that afternoon. "I'm sorry," she said. "Mr. O'Neill phoned this morning to say he was sick." "Then I'll speak to the department head," I said. "That's not possible. Mr. Steinman doesn't work here anymore. He left on Friday." "Left? Did he find another job?" "I couldn't say, sir." I pressed her, but she refused to give more information. It didn't feel right. First Steinman left, then O'Neill disappeared. Not a good sign. While Stella sorted the mail, I complained about the high phone bill. "We'd better find O'Neill soon if we want to cover this cost," I said. "Come on, Stella. Let's visit Wall Street and see what we can learn. I prefer the subway to taxis. It's cheaper, faster, and safer than it was when I worked as a cop." We rode downtown to Wall Street and walked past the New York Stock Exchange. Ahead stood the New Century Building, 30 floors of glass and metal shining in the sun. Ocean Star occupied the top 4 floors. Inside, money was in the air. Everything, furniture, carpets, the reception desk, spoke of wealth. We introduced ourselves as potential millionaires looking for investment advice. Doors opened quickly. The advisor gave polished answers to my questions. "So you guarantee a return of up to 15% within a year?" I asked. "Absolutely," she replied without hesitation. "Ocean Star offers the best service on Wall Street." Afterwards, Stella shook her head. "Nat," she sounded like an actress reading her lines. "Too perfect. Something feels wrong." I agreed, but I wanted more than public information. I needed inside knowledge. So I headed to McFadden's bar near East 42nd Street, a favorite of daily news reporters. Inside, I spotted Ed Winchester, a veteran reporter who had helped me before. "Nat," he called, "buy me a drink and I'll listen." I bought 2 beers and explained the situation. Ed thought carefully, then introduced me to Brett Johnson, a young financial journalist. "Here's the thing, Mr. Marley," Brett said. "Ocean Star makes big money for clients every year. Maybe it's luck, or maybe Houston really is brilliant. But if they're so good, why aren't other firms doing the same? I don't know the full answer, which is why nothing's been printed yet. But it's suspicious." That gave me plenty to think about. Chapter 3. Secrets in Brooklyn Heights. After lunch, I met Stella at Grand Central Station, under the big clock at the information desk. We were going to visit Joyce O'Neill at her home on Henry Street, Brooklyn Heights. As usual, we took the subway. Henry Street is only a block from the station. Old 19th century brownstone houses line both sides. The O'Neills were already at the door when we arrived. Joyce looked exhausted, her eyes red from crying. Julia held her hand tightly. "Please come in," Joyce said. Just then the phone rang. She answered, then slowly put it down. Again, no one there. That's the 3rd time today. "Let me check," I said. I tried calling the service to find out who had phoned, but they refused to give a number. "No luck," I told her. "Maybe just wrong numbers, but if it happens again, let me know." I explained that I had called her husband's office earlier. They told me he was on sick leave, and I had also learned that Steinman had left the firm. "Really?" Joyce said, shocked. "What is happening?" "I wish I knew," I admitted. "While we're here, we'd like to learn more about your husband, his interests, his habits. Even small things could matter. Does he have a home office?" "Yes, through here," she said. The office faced the street. On the walls were pictures of old New York. Beneath the window stood a desk with 9 drawers and a computer. Bookshelves covered the rest of the walls. "Ms. Delgado will check his computer if that's all right," I said. Stella tried to log in, but needed the password. Julia spelled it out. Julie. That's what my father always calls me. While Stella worked on the computer, I searched the books and desk drawers. At first, nothing useful. But the last drawer was locked. A minute with my knife opened it. Inside were books about poker, titles like 99 Ways to Win at Poker and The Complete Poker Player. Notes filled the pages in Patrick's handwriting. Did you know about this? I asked Joyce. She shook her head. No, he never mentioned card games. I thought I knew everything about him. Meanwhile, Stella went through Patrick's emails. Mostly work messages, she said. But here's one. The last email to Steinmann, sent Friday. I didn't think you could be so stupid. I can't believe what you've done. Do you know what that means? I asked Joyce. Some kind of disagreement, maybe, she answered uncertainly. Stella then checked the family bank accounts with Joyce's help. The joint account and Joyce's account looked normal. But Patrick's personal account was locked by another password. Joyce brought out a small notebook he had told her to keep safe. With it, Stella opened the account. Her face grew serious. Mrs. O'Neill, do you know an F. Van Zandt? I've never heard that name, she said. Well, Patrick has made several large payments to this person in the last 6 months. Look, the last one is $15,000. And today he withdrew $10,000 in cash. There's more, Stella added. 2 large payments to Steinmann, over $25,000 in total. Joyce looked shocked. I don't understand. I had a strong suspicion. Patrick might be a secret poker player who lost heavily, paying Van Zandt month by month. But why had he sent so much money to Steinmann? Chapter 4. Shadows from the Past. Tuesday, October 5th. Stella and I arrived early at the office on East 43rd Street. We now had 2 more people to track down, Van Zandt and Steinmann. Stella, try to find a phone number for Van Zandt, I said. I'll look for Steinmann. My search was faster. In the phone book, I found Steinmann's number and his address on West 75th Street, an expensive area near Central Park. I called right away. Good morning. May I speak with Mr. Steinmann? I asked. Who are you and what's your business with him? A loud voice demanded. I knew that voice. Captain Oldenburg of the NYPD. Oldenburg? Long time no see, I said. It's Nat Marley. Remember me from the force? He wasn't interested in memories. Answer the question, Marley. I'm calling for a client. Her husband worked under Steinmann, and I need to speak with him. Too bad, Oldenburg replied. Steinmann has disappeared. No one's seen him since Friday. Why don't you tell me what's going on? I stayed calm. My client's husband is in trouble. I thought Steinmann might have answers. As usual, you're keeping things to yourself, Oldenburg snapped. Listen, don't hide anything that could help my case, or I'll drag you down to headquarters. Message received. Oldenburg was still a tough cop, never easy to work with. Just then my phone rang again. It was Joyce O'Neill. She had returned home for clothes and found the front door wide open. Someone had broken in. I remembered the strange phone calls she had received. Now I was sure someone had been watching the house. Is anything missing? I asked. I don't know. Please come quickly. I'm afraid they'll return. Don't touch anything, I told her. Wait with a neighbor until I arrive. I left Stella searching for Van Zandt numbers and hurried to Brooklyn Heights by subway. Joyce stood shaking by the front door. This is terrible, Mr. Marley. It must be connected to Patrick, she said. Inside, the home office was wrecked. Books thrown everywhere, drawers emptied. The computer remained, but when I checked, the hard drive was gone. They wanted information from here, I explained. If they didn't find what they wanted, they may come back. You must not stay in this house again. I'll go back to Julia's, Joyce agreed. While we waited for a locksmith to change the locks, I asked her more about Steinmann. Patrick once had the chance to become department head, she explained. He was right for the job. But Lorraine Houston wanted someone new. She chose Steinmann, a man who didn't care if people liked him. Patrick accepted it, but they were never friends. She also told me about Patrick's background. His family were Irish immigrants who settled in the East Village in the 1920s. He grew up in Alphabet City, then a dangerous area full of crime and drugs, though now it had become trendy with cafes and bars. He didn't come from a rich family, Joyce said. He worked nights to pay for college. Life was never easy for him. Where do you think he would go if he needed to hide? I asked. The East Village is the area he knows best, she replied. I nodded. Mrs. O'Neill, I must warn you. The people who broke in may return. We should involve the police. She looked out the window for a long time, then spoke softly. Mr. Marley, Patrick wrote, don't call the NYPD. Those were his wishes. I have to respect them. Chapter 5. Death Beside the River. By the time I got back to the office on East 43rd Street, it was midday. I grabbed a quick snack at Grand Central and found Stella waiting. She had already collected phone numbers for more than 50 Van Zants in New York City. Okay, Stella, let's divide the work, I said. We'll each start calling. Say you're an old friend of Patrick O'Neill and want to reach him. It was boring, slow work. I called one number after another. Good afternoon, sir. I'm trying to contact an old friend, Patrick O'Neill. Do you know him? No. Thanks for your time. After many dead ends, I finally reached an answering machine. I'm sorry I can't take your call right now. Please leave a message or call 212-5230. I dialed that number. A voice answered after 2 rings, with jazz music in the background. Frankie's Cocktail Lounge. Good afternoon. May I speak to Mr. Van Zant? I asked. Hold on, the man said, shouting. Frank, call for you. Then came a rough voice. Frank Van Zant speaking. I'm trying to reconnect with an old friend, Patrick O'Neill. Do you know how I might reach him? Who's asking? Van Zant snapped. I lied again. The name's Marley. We studied accounting together. If you're so smart, look in the phone book. And don't call me again, he barked before hanging up. The call was short, but I felt certain this was the right Van Zant. I was already thinking about visiting Frankie's Cocktail Lounge when the phone rang again. It was Captain Oldenburg. His voice was as sharp as ever. Marley, your line's been busy. Get over to the 79th Street boat base and I've got something to show you. That didn't sound good. When Oldenburg laughs, it usually means trouble. I told Stella, and she reminded me not to lose my temper with him. Then I took the subway to West 79th Street and walked toward the Hudson River. The weather had turned gray and cold, with a strong wind from the west. At the boat basin, police cars were parked near the water. A uniformed cop stopped me. Sorry, sir, you can't enter. Name's Marley. Captain Oldenburg's expecting me, I said. He led me to Oldenburg, who was standing beside a Chevrolet Impala. He was smiling. Not a good sign. He opened the trunk. Inside lay a man's body. The police doctor carefully lifted the dead man's head. His skin was gray, his mouth open, and there was a bullet hole between his eyes. Marley, meet Ronald Steinman, Oldenburg said. The doctor explained. Dead 2 or 3 days, 1 shot to the head. He was beaten badly before he died. I felt sick. I've seen bodies before, but it never gets easier. Oldenburg spoke again. This car belongs to Patrick O'Neill. We need to talk. He took me to the Boat Basin Cafe, where a double scotch helped calm my stomach. Then he leaned closer. Steinman disappeared Friday afternoon. People at Ocean Star say he argued with O'Neill that morning. Today, Steinman turns up dead in O'Neill's car. At the same time, O'Neill vanishes. You see where this leads? I did. Oldenburg thought O'Neill was a murderer. He was paying money into Steinman's account, and he sent that angry email. Marley, I want Patrick O'Neill for Steinman's murder. If you know where he is and don't tell me that's a crime. I told him the truth. I didn't know where Patrick was hiding. All I knew was that his wife had hired me. Oldenburg then demanded to question Joyce O'Neill. I promised to arrange it. Later on the subway back to Midtown, I wrote down the facts. O'Neill had disappeared, argued with Steinman, sent him an angry email, paid money to both Steinman and Van Zant, and had his computer hard drive stolen. Now Steinman was dead in his car. But the real questions remained. What secret put O'Neill in danger? Did Steinman know it too? Could Ocean Star be the key? And most important, Could O'Neill truly kill a man? I called Joyce at Julia's apartment. I'm afraid I have terrible news, I said. This morning, the police found Steinman's body in the trunk of Patrick's car. She screamed, then went silent. Finally, she whispered, I can't believe it. What happens now? The police are searching for your husband. You'll need to speak with them. I understand, she said softly. But the meeting must be at your office. Chapter 6. Questions without answers. Wednesday, October the 6th. At 9 in the morning, Captain Oldenburg and Joyce O'Neill came to my office. Joyce wore a stylish black jacket and skirt with a white blouse, Fifth Avenue style. Oldenburg, on the other hand, looked awful in a brown suit and orange tie from another century. Before he began questioning Joyce, I tried to show him Patrick wasn't a killer. As I see it, I said, Patrick O'Neill is caught in something dangerous. We don't know yet if the key is Ocean Star, or his conflict with Steinman, or both. But Patrick is a family man who's been at the same job for over 10 years. He's respected, loyal, and has no criminal record. That doesn't sound like a murderer. Oldenburg turned to Joyce. Mrs. O'Neill, people at Ocean Star said your husband argued with Steinman on Friday before both men disappeared. They heard shouting. Did they work well together? Not really, she said. Steinman pushed everyone hard. He was never satisfied. Patrick didn't like him, but he always did his work properly. 2 years ago, your husband wanted the head position, but Houston chose Steinman instead. How did Patrick feel about that? Oldenburg asked. He was angry then, but later he accepted it. Life has to go on, she replied. Do you know anyone who would want to kill Steinman? He pressed. No, she answered. He wasn't very nice, but not worth killing. Your husband was paying money to Steinman. Do you know why? None at all, Joyce said firmly. Oldenburg asked about the angry email, but Joyce had no explanation. Finally, he asked, would you allow a search of your house? Yes, she said, handing him her keys. Thank you, he replied. But I still must find Patrick. Will you call him? I can't. He only calls me from payphones, she said. Mrs. O'Neill, Patrick O'Neill is wanted for murder. If you, or you, Marley, know where he is and don't tell me, that's a crime. You could both end up in jail. Joyce glared at him with pure anger. If looks could kill, Oldenburg would be dead. After he left, Joyce broke down in tears. I know Patrick isn't guilty, but what if the police don't believe me? And what if the killers go after him next? I'll find him, I promised. But you must be careful. Stay inside Julia's apartment. Don't go out. When Joyce had gone, I called someone I trusted, Joe Blaney, an old friend and ex-cop. Joe had taught me more about survival on Manhattan streets than the police academy ever did. He was the kind of man you wanted if things turned dangerous. He also still carried a gun, something I hadn't done since leaving the force. I picked up the phone. Joe, I've got a job. It's risky, so bring your gun. A missing man is in danger, and we need to find him. Come to East 43rd Street with your car as soon as you can. Chapter 7. Frankie's Lounge. Joe Blaney arrived just after midday in his car. He's in his 60s but looks younger, tall, slim, with a full head of white hair. He pulled his jacket aside to show the gun. Let's hope we don't have to use this, boss, he said. We drove downtown along 2nd Avenue to the East Village and then to Frankie's Cocktail Lounge on 5th Street, between Avenues A and B. Frankie's had armchairs, sofas, red carpets, and soft jazz playing. We needed clear heads, so we ordered coffee instead of anything stronger. At the bar, I saw the man I thought was Van Zandt. Medium height, a short black beard, and no hair on his head. Think that's Van Zandt? Joe asked. Probably, I said. We walked to the bar. Van Zandt looked up from some papers. Are you Mr. Van Zandt? I asked. That's right, he said. What do you want? I'm Nat Marley, a licensed private investigator. I spoke to you on the phone yesterday. I'm trying to find Patrick O'Neill. His wife is worried and asked me to help. Van Zandt frowned. I don't have to talk to you, he said sharply. A large bartender moved forward as if ready for trouble. We don't want trouble, I said calmly. Take my cell phone. Call my office and ask to speak to Patrick's wife. He did. and after a few minutes he returned and said, "Okay, what do you want?" We moved to a back room where the air smelled of cigarette smoke. Van Zandt sat and I introduced Joe. I asked him directly about the money paid to him. "It's not theft," he said. "That money was from poker games. I won fair and square. Patrick's a good player. I've known him since we were kids working nights on 10th Street. These backroom games are illegal. But the men who come aren't criminals, just decent men who want a night out." "Did Steinman play?" I asked. "Once or twice. He was dangerous at the table. He won a lot. I told Patrick not to bring him again. He cost me too much." That explained some of the payments to Van Zandt and to Steinman. Next, I asked about finding Patrick. "After the papers about Steinman's death, Patrick came here after midnight," Van Zandt said. "He told me he was in danger and planned to hide in a nearby hotel for a few days. He asked me to keep quiet. He also said to expect a letter from his firm, very important, and to keep it safe." "Can we see the letter if it arrived?" I asked. Van Zandt opened a thick envelope he'd been given and took out many pages. The top showed Ocean Star Finance in red and gold. I spread them on the table. The pages looked like accounts, lots of numbers. "You know what this is?" Van Zandt asked. "Secret accounts from Ocean Star," I said. "This could explain everything. Keep them safe for now." Before we left, I called Stella to report what we'd found. Then Van Zandt told me, quietly, "If you find Patrick, don't tell anyone he was here." He trusted me. Mrs. O'Neill phoned during the call. "Mr. Marley, thank you. I feel you're getting close. Please find him and make the police believe he didn't kill Steinman." Chapter 8. Searching the East Village. The East Village covers a wide area, from 4th Avenue to Avenue D and from East Houston Street to East 14th Street. That's around 80 blocks. If Patrick O'Neill was hiding in a hotel here, like Van Zandt said, we had plenty of ground to cover. We wondered what kind of place he would choose. Would it be a busy hotel where he could blend in, or a cheap, quiet one where he could watch and listen? Another question was how to find him. Would he register under his real name? And how could we get the receptionist to tell us anything? I prepared a plan. I told Stella to make some documents for Patrick O'Neill accounting, including a photo of Patrick. Then at each hotel I could say, "I have a business meeting with Mr. O'Neill. Could you please call his room and tell him I'm here?" Hotel after hotel, the answer was always no. Expensive ones, full of tourists and business people, had no record of him. Cheaper places were worse, with unfriendly clerks who didn't care. Hours passed, and we moved deeper into the East Village toward Alphabet City. Finally, at the Madigan Inn on Avenue B, we got a break. The receptionist, a young woman, looked at Patrick's photo and hesitated. "Yes, I know this man, but not under that name. He called himself Brendan Toohey." I showed my license. "Please, it's urgent. His life is in danger. I'm working for his family." She nodded and checked the computer. "He stayed here one night, but checked out yesterday. He asked for a room facing the street. He spent most of his time at the window, watching. That confirmed my suspicion. Patrick was moving from one hotel to another, never staying long. As we left, Joe stopped suddenly. "Nat, see that black car across the street? I think I've seen it near your office." I looked. A Lexus with 3 men inside, all wearing dark glasses, even though night was falling. The car pulled away quickly. We couldn't see the license plate. When we reached Joe's car, we found 2 tires cut and a knife left on the road. Someone wanted to slow us down. "They're following us," Joe said grimly. We hurried to the next hotel, the Metro on Avenue C. Gina, the receptionist, greeted us with a smile. "Yes, I know him," she said when I showed her the photo. "He's registered as Bernard Delaney. Quiet guy. But you're the second group asking about him today. 3 men in black suits went up to his room 5 minutes ago." My heart jumped. "Did he leave with them?" "No," Gina said. "Quick, what's the room number?" I shouted. 219, 2nd floor. Joe and I raced upstairs, afraid we were already too late. Chapter 9. Trapped at the Metro. "Room 219, 2nd floor, Gina said. Joe and I ran upstairs. The door was broken open. Inside, the room was a mess. Clothes and blankets were thrown everywhere. An empty travel bag lay on the floor. "He's gone," I said. "But those other men won't be far." We hurried back down. I called 911, described the 3 men and their black car, and warned them that Patrick O'Neill was in danger. On the street outside, a man in dark glasses was waiting. He laughed. "You're not going anywhere. Tell us where O'Neill is, and you can go home." I glanced around. 2 more men in suits were walking toward us, each holding a gun. We had nowhere to run. "Back inside now," Joe shouted, pushing me toward the door. We rushed in. "On the floor behind the desk," Joe ordered. I grabbed Gina and pulled her down just as the front door crashed open. Shots rang out. Smoke filled the air. "I hit one," Joe said quickly, "but they'll be back." "Gina, is there a back exit?" "This way," she cried. She led us through a door into the kitchen. More footsteps pounded behind us. I knocked glasses and bottles to the floor to slow them down. A bullet tore into the wall beside me. Gina switched off the lights, plunging the room into darkness. I heard one of the men trip and curse. We ran through the back door into the night air. Narrow steps led to an alley behind the hotel. We ducked behind some boxes. Gina trembled and started to sob, so I covered her mouth to keep her quiet. The men spread out, searching. "They're here somewhere," one said. "Check the doors." Crashes followed as they broke doors open. Then came a new sound, the wail of a police siren. "It's the cops! Let's get out of here!" one of them shouted. Their footsteps faded. After a few minutes, we crept back. In the lobby, 2 of the gunmen lay on the floor under police guard. "Am I glad to see you?" I told the officers. "I'm Nat Marley, private investigator. Did you catch all 3? "Yes, sir. One's outside with the sergeant. He'll need an ambulance," said a cop. Captain Oldenburg was on his way, but I had no time to wait. "Joe, upstairs!" I shouted. We rushed back to room 219. The door was closed. I knocked. No answer. I pressed my ear against it. Someone was moving inside. Joe kicked it open. A man stood with a travel bag. He tried to push past us, but I grabbed his coat and pulled him down. He was middle-aged, gray-haired, with black glasses, Patrick O'Neill. "Don't be afraid," I said quickly. "I'm Nat Marley, working for your wife Joyce. You're safe now. It's time to stop running." Chapter 10. No more running. Patrick O'Neill stared at us with empty eyes. His lips moved, but no words came out. I shook his shoulders. "Listen, we're the good guys. Your wife sent us to find you. You're safe." He still looked unsure, so I handed him my cell phone. "Here, it's calling my office. Ask to speak with Joyce." He spoke briefly with his wife, then sat on the bed, tired and weak. "Now let me talk to my assistant," I said gently. He gave the phone back. "Stella, listen," I told her. "Call a cab and take Mrs. O'Neill to Frankie's Cocktail Lounge on 5th Street. We'll meet you there. We must prove to Oldenburg that O'Neill isn't Steinman's killer." Patrick began to look more alive. "I should say sorry," he murmured. "But how did you find me?" "Through your bank records," I explained. "We saw payments to Van Zandt. He told us about the poker games and that you checked into a hotel around here. We also know the police think you killed Steinmann, but I didn't believe it. Tell me, how did you escape those men in black suits?" "I saw them from my window," Patrick said. "I knew they meant trouble. I ran to the top floor and hid in a cupboard. I stayed until I heard police cars. Then I thought it was safe to come back to my room. And the envelope you sent to Van Zandt. What do those numbers mean?" I asked. "They're the reason Steinman was killed," Patrick said quietly. At that moment, the door opened. Captain Oldenburg walked in, looking tired. "Would you mind telling me what's going on, Marley?" "Captain, this is Patrick O'Neill," I said. "He was nearly murdered tonight. But he has a story to tell you. One that proves he isn't Steinmann's killer. The evidence is waiting at Frankie's Cocktail Lounge." "I'll listen," Oldenburg said. "But the police decide guilt, not you. For now, O'Neill is still my prisoner." Downstairs, Oldenburg gave orders. The 2 wounded gunmen were taken away, and a sergeant stayed with the injured 3rd. Then Oldenburg drove us through the East Village to Frankie's. Inside, the evening crowd filled the place, and a jazz band was setting up. I found Van Zandt in the back room, where the air was thick with smoke. He opened a window as Oldenburg brought Patrick in. Stella followed with Joyce. Joyce rushed to her husband. "Patrick, I've been so worried." "It's wonderful to see you," Patrick said. "No more hiding. It's time to fight back." He turned to Oldenburg and laid the Ocean Star papers on the table. "These accounts can send Lorraine Houston to jail," he said. "They prove Ocean Star is cheating its clients." "Keep it short," Oldenburg replied. "On the left side of each page are the returns promised to clients, often 15%. On the right are the actual earnings. They don't match. The firm is using money from new clients to pay the old ones. It's fraud. I showed Steinman, and he tried to blackmail Houston. That's why he was killed. Now I'm ready to expose everything, even if Ocean Star is destroyed." Oldenburg took the papers. "Thanks, but you're still my prisoner. We'll continue at police headquarters." Chapter 11. O'Neill tells the truth. At police headquarters, Oldenburg led us into his office. It was very different from Ocean Star's luxury floors. The walls were a dull green, the floor bare, and everything looked basic. At least the coffee and sandwiches were decent. "You have a lot to explain, Mr. O'Neill," Oldenburg said. "Tell me everything about you, Steinman, and Ocean Star." Patrick began slowly. 2 years ago, the old department head left. I thought I had a chance to take the position after 8 years at the firm. But Lorraine Houston brought in Steinman instead. He didn't care who he upset. Houston thought he was wonderful, but people in my department didn't agree. He pushed everyone too hard. A year ago, I began asking questions. The money Ocean Star claimed to earn for its clients didn't match the figures I saw. I asked Steinman, but he told me not to worry. He said, "Just do your job. Houston knows what she's doing." It was impossible to talk to him, so I stayed quiet. Then, last Friday, something happened by mistake. Houston's assistant sent me an envelope that was meant for the vice president. Inside were secret accounts. These weren't on computer. They showed the truth. Ocean Star was paying old clients with money from new ones. That's how Houston could afford her rich lifestyle. I copied the accounts and mailed them to my old friend Van Zandt, just in case. Then I gave the copy to Steinman, hoping he'd help me. He saw right away what they meant. But instead of helping, he laughed and said he'd use them to blackmail Houston. I argued with him, tried to stop him, but he wouldn't listen. He went straight upstairs to her office. I knew then I was in danger. Steinman had gotten the accounts from me, so if Houston discovered it, I was finished. I told my assistant I felt sick and left the building. At home, I waited, then called Steinman's office. His desk was empty, his computer gone. I sent him an angry email. "I can't believe how stupid you are." The next day I called his house. His wife said he hadn't come home. That night, near midnight, I got a call. A voice told me, "You have information that belongs to Miss Houston. Return it by midday tomorrow if you want to live." But I couldn't. The papers were already in the mail. I wrote a note to Joyce and left home in the night. I packed a bag, left my car on Henry Street, and took a cab to Van Zandt's. I warned him to expect the letter, then checked into a hotel under another name. On Monday morning, I withdrew $10,000 to pay my way without credit cards. The rest you know. Oldenburg nodded. "That's helpful, but if Houston ordered Steinman's murder, I need proof." "Marley, got any ideas?" I thought for a moment. "Yes, Captain. I might have a plan." Chapter 12. Setting a Trap. If no one knew that Patrick O'Neill was at police headquarters, we could use that to our advantage. I explained my plan to Captain Oldenburg. "Let's assume Lorraine Houston ordered Steinman's murder," I began. "If she did it once, she'll do it again to silence O'Neill. We'll make her believe O'Neill is still hiding in the East Village. If she thinks she must find him first, she'll act. That gives us a chance to catch her." Oldenburg listened carefully. "Go on. I'll contact her directly. I'll say I have the secret accounts and I know where O'Neill is hiding. I'll offer to sell both, the papers and O'Neill, for $100,000. She'll think it's the perfect deal. O'Neill in jail. The account's destroyed and her trouble's gone. If she trusts me, she might admit the truth. Oldenburg frowned. And why you? Why not an NYPD officer? Because she'll believe me. I'll act like a businessman who doesn't care about right or wrong. If she sees me as one of her kind, she might let something slip. With luck, we'll get it on record. The captain nodded slowly. All right, we'll try it. But this could be dangerous. You'll have a full team behind you. Once you arrange a meeting with her, I'll position officers nearby. And I'll move Mrs. O'Neill and her daughter to a safe house. Good, I said. That night I went home exhausted. I fell into bed at 3 a.m. and slept like a stone. When I woke late the next day, I grabbed the morning papers at the corner stand and went into Slim Pete's diner. Over eggs and bacon, I read the headlines. NYPD's most wanted escapes and killer accountant on the run. Oldenburg had done a fine job feeding the press. On TV, a reporter stood outside the Metro Hotel. Patrick O'Neill, wanted for murder, escaped again last night, she said. Perfect, I thought. Now Houston had reason to panic. At the office, Stella was already at her desk. Rough day yesterday? She asked with a smile. You could say that, I answered. But we're close to putting Houston in jail. Later that morning, I tried to call Houston. Her assistant blocked me. Miss Houston isn't taking calls. I forced my way through. Tell her I have something she lost. I'll call again in 10 minutes. She'd better be ready. When I called back, Houston herself answered, angry. Who are you, and what do you want? Name's Marley. I worked for O'Neill. He gave me some interesting papers. I want $100,000. Tomorrow morning at 8, have the money ready in your office, or every paper in New York gets the truth about Ocean Star. Before she could answer, I hung up. The game had begun. Chapter 13. The Meeting at Battery Park. Friday, October 8th, 7:00 a.m. I took the number 5 train from Grand Central and walked the short distance to Battery Park. The plan was set. A public place where the police could watch without being obvious. Oldenburg's men were already in position. Plainclothes officers sitting like ordinary people among the trees and benches. The sky was heavy with black clouds and a cold rain began to fall. I called Lorraine Houston and told her to come alone, to bring the cash and to wait for my call. I wanted her uncomfortable and off balance, far from the soft carpets of her office. When she arrived, she was all business tall, slim, wearing an eye-catching red suit that was no use against the weather. I sat under a tree, holding a blue and white umbrella, and watched her approach. I put the small recorder in my pocket and waited. Do you have my papers? She demanded. Not yet, I said slowly. First, show me the money. She opened her case, and inside were stacks of $100 bills. She counted them with the impatience of someone used to buying what she wanted. I lifted one envelope from my own case and gave it to her. She looked inside quickly and then reached for her gun, but thought better of it when she remembered we were in public. I kept her talking, letting her reveal how she thought and how she solved problems. She was proud, confident, and dangerously careless with words. I let her believe she had won, that she'd buy back the accounts and send O'Neill to prison. When she finally took the second envelope and began to glance through the pages, I spoke into my coat, loud enough for her to hear. By the way, Miss Houston, my assistant will email a copy of these accounts to every newspaper in the city if anything happens to me. That made her edge back, but she had too much to lose. She forced a small smile and handed me the rest of the money. Just then I raised my umbrella and spoke clearly into the recorder so any later denials would be impossible. Her words were sharp and honest. She admitted she had removed Steinmann because he had become a problem. No more than a second after she finished, I gave a sign. Plainclothes officers sprang from their hiding places. Houston, startled, reached for her gun, but a squad was on her in moments. She dropped the weapon and was handcuffed. Ms. Houston, you are under arrest, an officer said as cameras and microphones closed in. The rain had stopped and a weak sun pushed through the clouds. For a moment, the city felt cleaner and quieter. I called Oldenburg. It worked. He answered with a short laugh. Nice work, Marley. O'Neill will be cleared. As the police led Houston away, I felt the tired relief that comes after a long, dangerous day. Leaves turned and fell around us. New York smelled like rain and salt from the bay. It was one of those rare mornings when everything felt, if not perfect, then at least right.